in the Splendor Hotel of Orlando, Florida. "Sir, your takeout has arrived." Jordan Steele, who was wearing the uniform of a takeout delivery man, knocked on the hotel's door. "Coming!" The guest room door opened, and Jordan froze in shock when he saw the couple inside. Jordan did not know the man who opened the door. However, the beautiful woman in a bathrobe behind that man was Jordan's wife, Haley Camden. Clang! Jordan dropped the takeout that he was carrying in his right hand onto the ground. Just a second ago, Jordan was still curious about the person who ordered the takeout. Splendor Hotel was a 5-star hotel, and the guests who lived there would seldom order takeout. Even if they did order takeout, the hotel would only allow the delivery man to send it to the lobby. However, the person who ordered takeout arranged for Jordan to deliver it to the door of his room. Who would have thought that Jordan would run into his wife while delivering takeout this time? Looking at the takeout that was on the ground, the stranger was furious. He was just about to lash out at Jordan when he heard Haley exclaiming in shock. "Hubby! You? Why are you here?" Startled, the stranger started sizing Jordan up. Jordan was of a medium build and was very good-looking. He was donning a yellow takeout deliveryman's uniform. The stranger smiled and said, "Haley, so your husband is a delivery man, huh? Ha, if I had known earlier, I would have called for room service instead of takeout." Despite running into Haley's husband, it did not fluster the man at all. It was because he knew Jordan was a live-in son-in-law. He had an inferior status among the Camdens. Jordan looked at Haley furiously. "Haley, I've been married to you for 3 years. I've prepared all of your meals and took care of your dog and cat with no complaints. I did not let you down. For the past 3 years, you didn't even let me touch your hand. I always thought you were a woman of principle, but today you... Why did you do this?" The fair-skinned and beautiful Haley became horrified, but soon she turned arrogant. She walked towards the door and said, "But what? Jordan, don't spout nonsense. The consequences are heavy. Do you know who he is? He is the boss of an investment firm and the scion of a top family in Orlando, Tyler Collins. Tyler is here to discuss a business deal with me. If you don't believe it, I can show you the contract, but will you understand what the contract is about?" Jordan was a deliveryman, and in Haley's opinion, he was incompetent and wouldn't understand business matters. Tyler smiled without giving an explanation. Glancing at the split takeout on the floor, he said, "At first, I was going to lodge a complaint against you for dropping my chicken soup. However, on account that you're Haley's husband, I shall give you a 5-star rating. Only if you apologize to me with sincerity. How does that sound?" Tyler wore a sinister smile while acting as if he was the victim. Not only did he not explain or apologize to Jordan, he even wanted the latter to apologize to him. Jordan thought that Haley would stop Tyler's shameless behavior, but to his surprise, Haley said, "Apologize to Tyler. He's not someone whom you can offend." Jordan got enraged. "You two are being such bullies. Not only are you not apologizing to me, you even want me to apologize to you instead, huh? That doesn't make sense." Jordan clenched his fist, feeling an urge to teach that beast a lesson. However, just as Jordan took a step forward, Tyler took 3 steps backward in shock. Haley stood in front of him to shield him, while yelling at Jordan. "Jordan! Look how shabby you look. You're not fit to step into a guest room of a 5-star hotel. Get out! Otherwise, I'll call security." Jordan looked at Haley and lowered his fist a little. "Haley, I hope there won't be a day you regret this." With that, Jordan turned around and left. Staring at Jordan's back, Haley hollered, "Marrying a loser like you is my greatest regret." Haley's pleasant and melodious voice resounded in the hotel's corridor, but it was getting softer and softer. However, her voice was becoming heavier in Jordan's heart. Jordan mounted the motorcycle the delivery service provided him as soon as he exited the hotel. All of a sudden, his phone started ringing. "Hello, hello, this is Uber Eats." Jordan answered with professionalism. An old voice on the other end of the line answered. "Sir, your 3-year character development experience as a live-in son-in-law of the Camdens officially ends today. Your next task is to build experience in business management. Mr. Steele Sr. has already bought the Ace Corporation and arranged for you to be the chairman of Ace Corporation." "Okay, I know," Jordan answered with indifference. Any other deliveryman would become ecstatic if he suddenly became the chairman of a company overnight. However, Jordan remained composed. The caller said, "Mr. Steele Sr. wants to know how you are getting along with your wife. Do you want to officially let her join the Steeles and become one of the inheritors?" Jordan sneered and exclaimed, "Let Haley Camden inherit my family's assets that are worth billions." "Ha, no need for that. She's not worthy." Jordan hung up, then gripped the steering wheel while flooring the accelerator to speed through the heavy traffic on the streets. In order to answer calls from customers anytime, Jordan wore a pair of Bluetooth headphones, and he was now listening to a song by a band called Beyond. Listening to the contemporary melody, Jordan recalled the time when he first met with Haley 3 years ago. Jordan was born into the wealthiest and most prestigious family in the world. The world only knew of mysterious families like the Rothschild, DuPont, and Morgan families. However, no one knew that the most mysterious family of them all was actually the Steeles. The Steeles' assets amounted to more than $100 billion, but they kept an extremely low profile, and their family was not even listed on the list of tycoons. They also educated their descendants differently from others. Jordan's grandfather paid great attention to the nurturing and education of children of his family. For example, Jordan had been learning martial arts at the same time as instruments like the piano and violin since the age of 5. At 18, he had already completed a 4-year business school course at an Ivy League university. In order to train Jordan's character, Jordan's grandfather arranged for him to become the live-in son-in-law of the Camdens, a second-tier family in Orlando. The Camdens had humiliated Jordan for the past 3 years, but he endured and bore with it to finish the 3-year test. He thought he would go home tonight and tell his wife the truth about him being a billionaire, but unfortunately. "Ha, Haley Camden, I wonder how you'd react when you find out my true identity one day." Jordan was looking forward to it. On the 9th floor of an apartment building in the residential area of Orlando. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Jordan returned home after wrapping up for the day. "You're home? You don't have to cook tonight. I ordered takeout. Come over and eat." Haley had come home in advance, and she had even prepared dinner for Jordan, which was rare. In the past, Jordan prepared every meal. Jordan changed into slippers and said, "Nah, I'm back to pack my things." As he spoke, he walked towards his bedroom. Jordan and Haley lived in separate rooms. Although the two of them were married in name, they had never shared the same room in the past 3 years. Haley was obviously enraged as she walked in with her hands on her slender waist. "What? You want to run away from home? Must you do this over a trivial matter?" Stuffing his clothes into his suitcase, Jordan retorted. "A trivial matter? Do you think adultery is a trivial matter?" Haley did not explain this time, knowing that Jordan wouldn't believe her, regardless of her explanation. Hence she barked, "So what? Do you expect me to apologize to you? You've been sponging off me, and even if I really did something wrong to let you down, you have to put up with it." Jordan closed the suitcase with force and said, "I put up with your family for 3 years. I've been serving you like you're a princess, but for the past 3 years, you've never looked me in the eye. Your mother, Sylvie Parker, humiliated me and beat me in public countless times, but I've never talked back to her. Your father, Benedict Camden, takes me for free labor, and makes me do all the arduous and filthy tasks which caused me to be injured several times. All the hard-earned money that I spent on my medical expenses I earned by delivering takeout. Your uncle and his cousin bullied me, but all of you turned a blind eye to their behavior. From today onwards, I don't want to put up with it anymore. Haley, let's get a divorce." Haley was shocked when she heard Jordan mention divorce, but she soon laughed aloud. "Ha ha, how dare you mention divorce to me? Don't blame me for not reminding you, but after the divorce, you won't be able to live in a large apartment that has a floor area of several hundred square meters or drive an Audi." Jordan sneered with disdain. "Ha, large apartment? Audi? I don't need it." Haley answered, "Sure, I've wanted to divorce you for a long time, and I don't know what kind of folly my grandfather was in to have made me marry a good-for-nothing like you. The Camdens are at least set to become a first-tier family, and our assets amount to more than $100 million. A penniless man like you is not fit to be my husband at all." Jordan packed up his things and cut her off, no longer wanting to hear her continue to insult him. "Let's go to the lawyer's office tomorrow morning to get a divorce." "I can't make it tomorrow," Haley refuted instantly. "It's my grandmother's 80th birthday tomorrow, and we all have to gather at her home before 10 a.m. Besides, I have to discuss this with my family too." Haley's elders arranged their marriage. 3 years ago, Haley had no right to refuse the marriage arranged by her family. Today, she likewise had no right to dissolve the marriage arranged by her family. This was the life of most members of wealthy families. There were many things that were beyond their control. Jordan knew Haley couldn't decide for herself. "Discuss with your family as soon as possible. I'll wait for your call." After that, Jordan left, lugging his suitcase along. "Scoundrel. Good for nothing. You'll definitely regret divorcing me. In a few days, you'll be back on your knees and begging me to reconcile with you." Haley cursed Jordan incessantly, even until he had reached the elevator, but he simply ignored her. The reason being he knew how ridiculous Haley's words were. Why would a tycoon with a net worth of more than $100 billion kneel to someone from a family who were merely multimillionaires? "Haley, you're thinking too much." In the mountain villa area of Orlando, at 10 o'clock the following morning. It was the 80th birthday celebration of the elderly matriarch of the Camdens. The birthday banquet would be held at the best hotel in Orlando. Prior to the celebration, old Mrs. Camden had asked everyone to gather at the villa where she lived. "Happy birthday, Grandma. Mom, I wish you longevity and live to the age of 200. There was a large group of people in the villa, and they were all the children and grandchildren of old Mrs. Camden. Old Mrs. Camden had 2 sons, the elder being Herman Camden and the younger being Benedict Camden, who was also Haley's father. Herman had a son named Drew and a daughter named Elle, both of whom were about the same age as Haley. Old Mrs. Camden held the power to make decisions for the family business and had the final say on the assets, which were worth more than $100 million. Thus, Herman and Benedict were trying their best to please old Mrs. Camden and get into her good books, so that they would receive a greater share of the inheritance. Old Mrs. Camden sat in the middle of the living room on a mahogany chair worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, holding a poodle and looking at the gifts she had received from her children and grandchildren. She nodded happily as she listened to their birthday wishes. Suddenly, she saw a pile of poop excreted by the poodle under the chair. "Where is that good-for-nothing son-in-law?" old Mrs. Camden asked. "Get him here to clean this up." The good-for-nothing son-in-law who old Mrs. Camden referred to was Jordan. Jordan had been picking up the poodle's feces for the past 3 years. Herman looked at the room and remarked in puzzlement, "Huh? That good-for-nothing Jordan seems to be absent." Old Mrs. Camden got furious. "What? It's my 80th birthday today. How dare he not show up? Haley, what's going on?" Haley answered respectfully. He might have gone to work. Work? To deliver takeout? Ha ha, that's hilarious. Elle jibed. Drew began mocking too. He's such a disgrace to the Camdens. I ran into him once when I was driving around in my Maserati, but I didn't even dare to tell my friends that he's a member of our family. Old Mrs. Camden's eyes burned as she yelled, Get him to come back here now. He doesn't know how to follow the basic rules at all. When she saw how angry her grandmother had become, she had no choice but to tell the truth. Grandma, he didn't come today because we're getting a divorce. Divorce? Who gave you permission to get a divorce? Don't you know that your marriage was decided by your late grandfather? Old Mrs. Camden rebuked. Haley dared not be disrespectful and knelt down on the spot while weeping. Grandma, I don't dare to go against Grandpa's wishes, but Jordan, he's too much of a bully. Feeling a heartache when she saw Haley bawling her eyes out, old Mrs. Camden walked over to help her up. Haley, stop crying. You're my granddaughter, and he's just a living son-in-law. Tell me how he bullied you. I'll teach him a lesson on your behalf. Haley wiped the tears that she had forced herself to shed, and then said to everyone, Jordan has an affair with another woman. What? Old Mrs. Camden's body trembled as she heard Haley's accusation. Fortunately, Herman reacted right away and came over to hold her. Old Mrs. Camden blew her top. He's a beast. For the past 3 years, we let him stay in a luxury apartment and gave him a luxury car to drive, and he didn't even devote himself to you and stay loyal to you. How dare he get involved in an affair? Haley chose to play the blame game and falsely accused Jordan of cheating on her. Thus, she was easily able to gain old Mrs. Camden's trust. The reason being Haley knew how to hide her true colors well and had always acted like a good girl in front of her family. If not for the fact that he had run into her at the hotel and witnessed everything with his own eyes, Jordan would have continued to think that Haley was a pure and kind girl, even though she was slightly arrogant. Haley's parents, who had also been deceived by their daughter, scolded Jordan angrily. In contrast, Herman and his children had the opposite reaction. Elle gloated, Haley, aren't you known as the #1 beauty in Orlando? You've got a great figure and a pretty face. Why would you be inferior to other women? Elle had an impressive figure. She received more than 100 million likes and more than 10 million fans when her back was revealed in a video on a short clip-sharing platform. Among all the hosts, who chose not to reveal their faces, she was the one with the most fans. However, her looks were average and too ordinary compared to Haley. Thus, she always viewed Haley with jealousy. Drew smiled and chimed in. Haley, don't blame me for criticizing you, but you have a part to blame. You refused to let him get intimate with you in the 3 years of your marriage. Even if you're pretty, it's pointless if he can't have you. No wonder Jordan has an affair. Ha ha. At this point, Haley's mother, Sylvie, stood up for her. Drew, that's wrong of you. Haley's status is superior to Jordan's. If she had consummated her marriage with that good-for-nothing, wouldn't it be an insult to her? It would mar her body too. Drew humped in disdain. You guys are just thinking of keeping her chaste so that she can marry a rich man after finding an opportunity to get rid of Jordan, aren't you? Sylvie said. You? Enough, stop arguing. Old Mrs. Camden hollered. Even if Haley is like that, he has no reason to have an affair. What does he take our family for? Get that beast to come here now. I have to punish him with the family rules. She wanted to punish him with the family rules. Those who violated the Camden's family rules would be severely punished, with the simplest being a board beating and being unable to walk for a few days, and the most severe being a broken finger. Haley called Jordan as soon as he could. What's the matter? Jordan answered the phone. Haley answered, Grandma wants you to come over. No. Jordan hung up the phone right away. Haley did not expect Jordan to dare to refute here in such a resolute manner. She put down the phone and said to her grandmother, "He's not coming." Seeing how awkward the situation was, Sylvie frantically said, "Mom, it's your 80th birthday celebration today. Let's get busy with the celebration and ignore the good-for-nothing." However, old Mrs. Camden was stubborn. As long as it is something that the Camdens provided for, he has to be here, regardless if he's human or a dog. After saying that, she looked at Drew. "Drew, bring him over." "All right." Drew cracked his fingers. He often bullied Jordan and thought that this would be an excellent chance to move his limbs. After Drew left, old Mrs. Camden returned to the mahogany chair and stroked her poodle. Only then did her feelings get placated. After that, old Mrs. Camden said, "I called you all to come over early today because I have something to tell you." Herman, Benedict, and the others all sat upright and listened to what old Mrs. Camden had to say. Old Mrs. Camden said, "Yesterday, someone who appeared out of nowhere was appointed as the new chairman of the Ace Corporation. No one knows what his name is or where he comes from. As you are aware, Landmark Realty and the Ace Corporation have been in a cooperative relationship and are currently negotiating a $70 million financing deal. The contract hasn't been signed yet, so the most important thing to do now is to form a good relationship with the newly appointed chairman of the Ace Corporation." Landmark Realty belonged to the Camdens, who developed the new city residential estate that Haley lived in. Landmark Realty, however, recently faced some issues with their funds, and they urgently needed the Ace Corporation to invest $70 million in their company. After old Mrs. Camden's words, it was clear that whoever could negotiate the $70 million investment issue with the newly appointed chairman of Ace Corporation would be rewarded. The reward might be a promotion in the family business or something related to the final authority over the business or inheritance. Benedict was the first to speak up. "Mom, leave this matter to me. I will do everything I can to pave good relations with the new chairman of Ace Corporation." Herman jibed. "What right do you have to be in charge? I've always been in charge of the financing, Drew, and I will take care of this." Seeing that both of them were willing to contribute, old Mrs. Camden smiled. "It's my 80th birthday today. The guests arriving to celebrate my birthday are all distinguished figures of high status and authority in Orlando. Ask them about the new president while entertaining the guests. I'll leave the matter up to the first person who finds out." "Yes, Mom," Herman and Benedict chorused. Drew left the villa and drove his Maserati over onto the freshly paved tarmac road. Drew smoked a cigarette and dialed Jordan's phone number. "What's the matter?" Jordan asked. When Drew heard Jordan's voice, he laughed and said, "Ha ha, Jordan, Haley just told us all about what's going on between you two. I didn't expect you to have the guts to do that." Jordan was a bit surprised to hear that. "Did Haley tell you guys everything?" Drew answered, "Yes, she has. She was weeping in a distraught manner. Actually, I think the fault lies with her. What is she acting all chaste and lofty for? She's just a pretty face, isn't she? She's not even as good as Elle. What's wrong with sleeping with you for a night?" Jordan thought Haley had cried because she felt guilty, and thus sighed. "Let bygones be bygones." Drew suddenly asked, "Where are you? Let's talk." Jordan answered, "I'm delivering takeout in Green Park Residential Estate." Drew said, "Oh, I'll be right there. Wait for me." Drew stepped hard on the accelerator and arrived at the estate entrance within minutes, just in time to see Jordan exiting on his motorbike. Drew did not get out of the car and instead rolled down the window on the passenger side. "Hop in. Grandma wants to see you." Jordan thought that the old Mrs. Camden wanted to see him because she wanted to plead for her granddaughter. With steel in his voice, Jordan said, Even if your grandmother pleads for Haley, it'd be pointless. I will definitely divorce her." With a look of puzzlement, Drew exclaimed, "Rascal, what are you thinking? You think my grandmother wants to plead with you? She wants to punish you according to the family rules." It was hard for Jordan to open his eyes due to the glare of the sunlight. However, he was shocked. "Punish me according to the family rules? On what grounds?" Drew hollered. "On what grounds? You have an extramarital affair, and you have the cheek to ask that question? Yes, I'm pleased to see the miserable state Haley is in now, but no matter what, she's a Camden, and since you've let us down, you deserve to die." Jordan froze. "I have an extramarital affair? Is that what Haley said?" Jordan never thought that Haley would turn the tables and falsely accuse him of cheating when she was the one who made him a cuckold. This shameless woman. Even if you want to bully others, you must know your limits. Drew said impatiently. "Okay, cut the crap and get inside the car. We will entertain the guests in the hotel first. We'll punish you after the birthday banquet is over. You can then explain to Grandma about your divorce." With a murderous gaze in his eyes, Jordan hollered, "I said, I will not go." Drew was furious too. "You wastrel, you must be itching for a beating again, huh?" As he said that, Drew opened the car door, stepped out of the car, and dashed towards Jordan, who was mounted on his motorbike. He then kicked Jordan. To his surprise, Jordan caught him off guard by moving the motorbike backward, successfully dodging Drew's kick. After that, Jordan got off the motorbike, dashed towards Drew, and kicked him hard in the gut. Boom! Drew was a playboy with multiple girlfriends and a weak body due to his overactive sex life. Thus, Jordan's kick quickly sent him flying. You good for nothing, how dare you fight back?" Drew was shocked. In the past 3 years, Drew had bullied Jordan on several occasions. Even when Jordan was bullied in front of Haley's family, Jordan never dared to retaliate. Yet today, Jordan, the live-in son-in-law, actually beat up the future successor of the Camdens. Drew got up on his feet and took out a fruit knife from the trunk of the Maserati. He barked in exasperation. "I'm going to punish you on behalf of Grandma. I'll stab you to death." Whoosh! 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 Drew rushed towards Jordan and slashed him thrice, but the latter dodged the attacks effortlessly. Jordan started training in martial arts when he was 5 years old and never stopped doing so in over 10 years. He was taught by the best martial artists in both the local and international communities. Drew and his fruit knife can't hurt Jordan at all. Jordan's hand was as fast as lightning, and with a loud smack, he hit Drew's wrist, causing him to drop the fruit knife onto the ground. At the same time, Jordan punched Drew in the face, using several Wing Chun moves before Drew could pick up the knife again. Smack smack. Drew fell to the ground, not daring to strike at Jordan again. Jordan looked at Drew from above and warned, "Tell old Mrs. Camden that I'm no longer your family's dog who will come and go as you please. Unless I'm willing, no one can try to threaten me." After saying that, Jordan rode his motorbike away to deliver the next takeout order. Drew was already bruised and swollen, but he did not go to the hospital since he felt it was an excellent opportunity to win his grandmother's sympathy. Battered with bruises, he drove back to the mountain villa. Old Mrs. Camden and the others came out of the villa at the same time, all ready to go to the hotel to receive the guests. "Drew, you're back." Drew's mother, Adeline Walter, saw the familiar yellow Maserati driving forth and pointed at it in front of old Mrs. Camden. Old Mrs. Camden smiled and nodded. "Drew is still the most efficient after all." Everyone thought Drew had brought Jordan back, but Drew alighted from the car alone with his face covered in wounds, to their surprise. Old Mrs. Camden was incredibly heartbroken. Drew was the only male descendant of the 3rd generation, so it would be the end of the Camden's line of succession if anything happened to him. "My dear grandson, how did you get beaten up like this? Who beat you up?" old Mrs. Camden asked anxiously. Drew cried and complained. "Grandma, it was Haley's loser husband who hit me." "What?" Herman was furious and pointed at Benedict and his family. "You good-for-nothings, how dare you hit Drew? You must give me an explanation for this matter." Benedict and Sylvie also panicked. Since Jordan was their son-in-law, they would definitely have to take the blame. "All this good-for-nothing does is create trouble for us. When I see him, I have to slap his mouth," Sylvie remarked viciously. "Should we call the police, Grandma?" Drew asked old Mrs. Camden. Old Mrs. Camden disliked dealing with the police. "This is a family matter, don't worry. I will make sure he gets the punishment he deserves." Old Mrs. Camden then looked at Herman. "Herman, I know you know some friends in the triads. Ask them to teach that beast a hard lesson and bring him back to me." "Yes." Looking at the wounds on his son's face, Herman wished he could skin Jordan alive. Hence, he immediately called a friend who was a triad member. Half an hour later, at the stairway of a residential estate. It was a multi-story building with no elevator. Jordan had just delivered takeout and was ready to go downstairs. A pair of brawny tattooed men who were over 1.85 meters tall and weighed around 100 kilograms each appeared suddenly. "You're Jordan, right? Come with us," one of the tattooed men asked. Jordan looked at the two men and knew that the Camdens had sent them. Jordan said, "Today is my last day of working as a takeout delivery man. I'm not going anywhere." Jordan was the type to complete what he started. Having been appointed as the new chairman of Ace Corporation, today was actually his last day as a delivery man. All jobs are to be respected. Hence, he wanted to end his delivery career after completing it to satisfaction. "Seems like you want to do this the hard way." The two brawny men immediately attacked without any nonsense. Jordan looked like he was at a disadvantage in the narrow stairwell because he was much smaller than them. However, Jordan dodged their punches easily and leaped up onto the staircase's railing effortlessly. He then kicked one of them in his face. "Damn! This bastard's kick hurt so much." The person who had been kicked immediately started bleeding from his nose. Jordan smiled and said, "I'm a 4th-degree black belt. I'm a 9th-degree black belt." Jordan's attacker became angry and tried to kick him as well. Jordan leaped down from the railing, and he punched again before shaking his head and mocking the other party. Jordan was indeed a 4th-degree black belt. The average age of 4th-degree black belt holders was at least 55 years old and above. Clearly, he didn't know about that. Jordan had been practicing martial arts for many years, and Taekwondo was not the only sport he learned. Bang! Jordan beat his opponents up to the point of vomiting acid with Bruce Lee-style punches. Boom! With an over-the-shoulder throw, Jordan slammed him hard on the ground. The two professional fighters were trounced by Jordan at old Mrs. Camden's birthday banquet in Orlando's Marriott Hotel. Herman said to old Mrs. Camden with a look of embarrassment, "Mom, the professional fighters I hired got crippled by Jordan." "What?" Everyone was shocked. "Is this wastrel a professional fighter too? Isn't there anyone who can deal with this beast?" Old Mrs. Camden slapped the table furiously. At this moment, Ryan Dunn, the general agent of Uber Eats, came over with a birthday gift for old Mrs. Camden. Upon sight of Ryan, Herman suddenly smiled. Ryan was a nobody in Orlando. A few years ago, when takeout delivery services were not well received, he spent only $30,000 to become the general agent of Uber Eats for Orlando. It would probably be hard to do that now even if the price was increased by 10 times. Ever since he earned a reasonable sum of money from Uber Eats, Ryan had been trying to blend in with the upper-class society of Orlando. As it was old Mrs. Camden's 80th birthday today, Ryan decided to take the opportunity to become acquainted with the Camdens. "Mr. Dunn, welcome, welcome. Have you been well lately?" Herman walked up to greet him with a smile. Ryan held onto a bottle of red wine with one hand and shook Herman's hand with the other. "Thank you for your concern, Mr. Camden. I'm doing very well." He then walked towards old Mrs. Camden and handed the bottle of red wine over to her. "Old Mrs. Camden, I heard you enjoy drinking. This is a bottle of 1990 Domaine de la Romanée wine. I wish you a happy birthday and longevity." Old Mrs. Camden got up and thanked him. "Thank you, Mr. Dunn. That's very thoughtful of you." After that, Ryan asked, "How have you been, old Mrs. Camden?" Old Mrs. Camden sighed. Seeing this, Ryan immediately asked Herman, "Mr. Camden, old Mrs. Camden doesn't seem to be in a good mood." Herman sighed and said, "I'm not afraid of being mocked by you, but we're really unlucky. Do you still remember that living son-in-law of mine, Jordan Steele?" Ryan nodded. 3 years ago, Haley, known for her stunning beauty in Orlando, married a mediocre man. Her marriage caused quite a stir in Orlando. Back then, Ryan also wished he was in Jordan's place. Just like Jordan, he was a nobody who came from a humble background. He wanted to marry a wealthy girl too. Herman said, "Not only did that bastard cheat, he even hit my son. You saw how my son got beaten up." Only then did Ryan notice the injury on Drew's face. However, at this moment, Ryan was also put in a tough spot. He was just a nobody. How could he be fit to meddle in the family affairs of others? Ryan said, "It's a pity that I don't have any connections in Orlando. If you can't solve the matter, Mr. Camden, I doubt I can help you either. Otherwise, I'd definitely teach this ungrateful good-for-nothing a lesson." Herman patted Ryan's shoulder and said, "Mr. Dunn, you're too modest. You're indeed able to help me with this. That punk is your employee. He delivers takeout under Uber Eats." Drew couldn't help but speak up. Hearing his words, Ryan was immediately overjoyed. "Jordan is an employee of Uber Eats. Mr. Camden, leave it to me to handle this." Ryan was the general agent of Uber Eats in Orlando and had the absolute authority to fire Jordan. In fact, he was also thoroughly informed of Jordan's whereabouts. Ryan immediately made a phone call to someone. "Hello, Claire. Check up on Jordan Steele's employee number and his current location. Okay, assign an order to Jordan now. Make him deliver it to Marriott Hotel." After making the call, Ryan said to old Mrs. Camden respectfully, "Old Mrs. Camden, that sponger will be here right away. I'll stand up for you later." Old Mrs. Camden, Herman, and Drew all started grinning. 15 minutes later, Jordan arrived at the entrance of the Marriott Hotel on his motorbike. Jordan dialed the customer's phone number and said, "Mr. Dunn, your takeout has arrived. I'm at the entrance of the Marriott Hotel. Please come out to collect it." Ryan was chatting with old Mrs. Camden and the others in the hotel's lobby. Ryan ordered, "Send it in." Jordan looked up at the luxurious banner at the hotel entrance, which read, "Happy 80th birthday, old Mrs. Camden." Besides, Marriott Hotel was the best hotel in Orlando for birthday banquets. Hence, he reckoned Haley's family was there. Jordan said, "Takeout deliveries are not allowed to enter the hotel. Please come out to collect it." Ryan covered the microphone of the cell phone and asked for instructions from old Mrs. Camden. "All right, wait for me at the door." 2 minutes later, Ryan and the Camdens walked out. "Damn it!" Jordan realized it was a trap laid by the Camdens to lure him over. Ryan walked straight towards Jordan and hollered at him, "Take off the clothes and hat that you're wearing." With a look of bewilderment, Jordan asked, "What do you mean?" At this moment, Drew, who was grinning, walked over. "What do you mean? Do you know who he is? He is your boss. He's Ryan Dunn, the general agent of Uber Eats in Orlando. Ryan humped coldly. If you don't believe me, I'll get the manager, Claire, to call you. Soon, Claire called Jordan. Jordan, what did you do to provoke Mr. Dunn? He has already fired you. Jordan sneered, as he didn't expect his career as a takeout deliverer to end like that. To be honest, he enjoyed delivering takeout as it allowed him to meet people from all walks of life and train one's temper and character. He wanted to end his career as a takeout deliverer perfectly, but that bastard Ryan ruined his plan. Ryan started hollering at Jordan. Hurry up and remove your clothes. I have already fired you. His clothes, hat, and motorbike all belonged to Uber Eats. Since Jordan had been fired, he was no longer qualified to use them. Sure. With a grim expression, he removed the yellow takeout deliverer's uniform in front of everyone. Ha ha ha, he's just like a dog. Drew laughed and leaned backward. Herman hollered. Good for nothing. Weren't you very arrogant just now? You even had the guts to hit my son. Try doing that now. Jordan was Ryan's employee now, and had no choice but to obey him. He took off his uniform and tossed it onto the motorbike. Mr. Dunn, I heard that your proxy for Uber Eats ends this year, right? Ryan was stunned for a moment as he asked. What does that have to do with you? Jordan chuckled and said, You don't have to go to the Capitol to discuss the contract renewal anymore. You will no longer be the general agent. Jordan remembered who the owner of Uber Eats was. Jordan's grandfather had rejected his attempt to get acquainted with the Steeles a few years ago. With a single call from Jordan, Ryan would vanish in Orlando. Ryan still hoped to earn more money as the general agent, so he got furious. Who do you think you are? Am I going to stop being the proxy agent just because you said so? Do you know how close I am to the boss of Uber Eats? Back then, no one was optimistic about takeout delivery, but I forked over the cash to save him. This time, I'm going to spend $1 million. Jordan sneered and said, No matter how much money you fork out, you can't become the general agent anymore. You can try if you don't believe me, Ryan said. You? At this point, old Mrs. Camden suddenly spoke up. Jordan, you good-for-nothing, don't brag. You first cheated on Haley, and then you beat up my grandson. Today, I'm going to punish you by using the family rules. Do you dare come in? Jordan humped. Why not? Jordan glanced at the Marriott Hotel's entrance. Apart from the prestigious Camdens, there were many other guests who were there to attend the banquet. Jordan knew those guests were all distinguished figures in Orlando. They were all government officials, mafia bosses, businessmen, and artists whose strength was unimaginable to ordinary people. However, Jordan did not feel the slightest fear in the face of these bigwigs. They were only so in the tiny Orlando city. Those who lose their advantages or power will be belittled. Jordan followed the Camdens to the lobby of the hotel at a steady gait. They had booked the entire hotel for old Mrs. Camden's birthday banquet, and hence, there were no outsiders in the lobby except for the servers. After Jordan entered, even the servers avoided them. Old Mrs. Camden was sitting in a chair in the middle of the living room. Despite her height of 1.6 meters, she looked dignified and majestic. Bastard! Kneel right now! Jordan looked around and asked, Why should I do that? Old Mrs. Camden asked. 3 years ago, when you became a son-in-law of the Camdens, you promised you would be punished according to our family's laws once you let us down. Does that promise still stand? Jordan straightened his back and exclaimed, Of course it does. Okay, bring my dragon ruler here. Old Mrs. Camden ordered, and Herman immediately handed over the dragon ruler he had prepared long ago. The metal dragon ruler, which was left behind by the ancestors of the Camdens, was larger than an ordinary ruler. In the beginning, it was used as a measuring tool, but later it became a tool for enforcing family punishment. After being hit by the ruler, the pain would last for at least 3 days. Grasping the giant dragon ruler, old Mrs. Camden said, "Good that you admit to it. Someone slap him 20 times. Yes." Herman had long wanted to stand up for his son, and hence was the first to walk forward. However, Benedict snatched the dragon ruler from him with one hand. "Mom, I failed to take my son-in-law in hand, so I'll teach him a lesson myself." As soon as Benedict held onto the ruler, Sylvie snatched it from him. "I've always been the one to slap him." "Let me do it!" The few of them vied to hit Jordan. Jordan, however, did not expect Haley to speak up as well. "He's my husband. I'll do it." Haley picked up the dragon ruler with her slender hand that Jordan had never held in the past 3 years. Jordan stared at Haley's beautiful side profile, but he felt she was hideous. "Ha, you cheated on me first, but you accused me of cheating on you instead. Now you even want to slap me? You're such a good wife. I've married a rare gem." Jordan could not be more exasperated. To everyone's surprise, Drew snatched the giant dragon ruler and dashed towards Jordan. "Dog, how dare you hit me? I'm going to destroy your face." Drew then tried to swing the dragon ruler at Jordan's face. Jordan stood rooted to the ground without dodging. He grabbed Drew's arm with his left hand and then twisted it, causing him to slap himself with the giant dragon ruler instead. Smack! Drew was struck hard in the face by the giant dragon ruler in his hand. That made his face, which was already gruesome, look even worse. Everyone was astounded. How dare a live-in son-in-law hit the heir of the Camdens? Old Mrs. Camden stood up and hollered, "Scoundrel! How dare you act like a brat and cause such a scene here? Do you know how many government officials there are here? They can arrest you now and put you behind bars." Jordan believed that old Mrs. Camden's words were true. Often, the wealthy were acquainted with high-ranking government officials, such as the Camdens. They had ties with distinguished figures of power and stature. However, Jordan looked at the guests and said, "I think the officials should have seen clearly that Drew was the one who tried to hit me with a weapon first, and I was just defending myself." All the guests wore ordinary clothing instead of work uniforms. However, one of them, who was tall and bespectacled, suddenly spoke up. "However, you just said you will accept the punishment according to the family law. Yet, you went back on your word when it was time to exact the punishment. Do you think that's something a man should do?" After that person finished speaking, the crowd chimed in. It was evident that he had a high status. Upon hearing the words of the crowd, old Mrs. Camden smiled too. Jordan said, "I'm willing to accept the punishment according to the Camden family's law, but only if I have done something wrong." Old Mrs. Camden hollered, "You had an extramarital affair behind Haley's back and even hit my grandson. Is that not enough?" Jordan curled his lips in disgust and said, "For the past 3 years, I've loved Haley wholeheartedly, and I have never had a change of heart. It was your granddaughter who cheated on me. She checked into a room with Tyler in the Splendor Hotel yesterday. You can go check." As soon as she said that, the hall became lively as the guests exchanged pleasantries. "Tyler? Do you mean Tyler Collins? The scion of the Collins family? I've long heard that the Camdens intend to let the scion of the Collins marry Haley. Seems like it's true. The Camdens and the Collins are indeed compatible, but Haley can just remarry after getting a divorce. It doesn't seem right for her to have an extramarital affair, does it? It seems that the legendary most beautiful woman of Orlando is not so pure as she's made out to be." Upon hearing the whispers of the crowd, Haley blushed and bowed her head in embarrassment. "Grandma, everyone, don't believe his nonsense. I met Tyler yesterday to talk about business. As you are aware, Landmark Realty has been trying to rope in some investors lately, so I met Tyler for that matter." Jordan laughed and jibed. "Must you talk about business in a hotel room? Dressed in a bathrobe? Do you take everyone here for fools? At this moment, a familiar person walked into the hall. Speak of the devil. It was Haley's lover, Tyler. Hey, everyone's here. Tyler had an eye-catching hairstyle and was dressed in expensive clothes with some gifts in his hands. When he saw the commotion in the lobby, he was a little startled. Haley pulled Tyler over as soon as she saw him. Tyler, this live-in son-in-law of our family insists that I'm in an extramarital affair with you. Quick, tell everyone that I went to see you yesterday for business. Tyler froze, finally realizing why everyone was looking at him with a peculiar gaze. Tyler glared at Jordan and thought to himself, how dare this good-for-nothing who sponges off his wife expose my affair with Haley in front of so many people. It was common for upper-class members to engage in sordid acts. Still, the most critical difference between them and hooligans was that, despite their misdeeds, they built a positive image for themselves. Tyler said, Everyone, don't listen to what this good-for-nothing Jordan just said. Haley and I are innocent. She came to see me yesterday, just to deliver a document to me. Jordan, you said that Haley was cheating on you with me, but do you have any proof, like videos or photos? Tyler questioned Jordan instead. Tyler knew that Jordan did not take out his cell phone to take any photos or videos at the hotel yesterday. The only video that could prove Haley's stay in the hotel room was also deleted by Tyler, who had managed to do so by using his connections. Tyler just had to deny vehemently now. Seeing that Jordan could not produce any evidence, Tyler laughed and said, Everyone, the reason why Jordan slandered me is because of another matter. Maybe all of you don't know this, but this live-in son-in-law also works as a part-time delivery man. I ordered takeout yesterday, and it happened to be delivered by him. Yet, he had a horrible attitude just because he had the Camdens as his backer, and he even tossed the takeout I ordered onto the ground. Hence, I gave him a 1-star rating. It just so happens that Mr. Dunn, the general agent of Uber Eats, is also here. Mr. Dunn, you can check his delivery records from yesterday. Ryan already knew Jordan's employee number. He only needed to enter the employee number into the app to check the takeout orders that Jordan had recently delivered. After checking, Ryan nodded and said, Tyler is right. He received a 1-star rating yesterday. The reason for the bad rating is a poor attitude and throwing the takeout onto the ground, exactly like what Tyler said. Public opinion also shifted at this point, and the crowd began to believe Ryan and Haley. Jordan looked at Haley and said, Aren't you going to explain why I dropped the takeout on the ground? Haley folded her arms, accentuating her figure while pretending to be innocent. You weren't attentive at work, and you have poor tolerance. Ha ha ha, well said. Jordan wanted to applaud Haley. How can she have the cheek to say that? Her husband dropped the things in his hands when he saw his wife in a room with another man, and yet she blamed it on him for having a poor tolerance. Am I supposed to pretend not to see it and hand the takeout over to your lover before getting down on my knees to beg you to give me a 5-star rating? Punk, you are the one who made a mistake at work. Yet, you malign Tyler and Haley. Shut up if you can't produce the evidence. It doesn't matter if she cheated on you. You have no right to make a scene because you are just a live-in son-in-law. Haley was a famous heiress of a wealthy family in Orlando, while Jordan was a live-in son-in-law whom everyone despised. No one spoke up for Jordan as they all stood on Haley's side. Ha ha, it really is a world where only the rich have a say. Jordan did not explain much, as he felt it was pointless. He simply looked at old Mrs. Camden. You guys said I had an extramarital affair. Do you have proof? Old Mrs. Camden looked at Haley, who shook her head. Old Mrs. Camden said, Since none of you have any evidence against each other, we'll drop this matter. However, the fact you beat Drew up cannot just be forgotten. Jordan looked at Drew and said, He cut me with a knife at the entrance of Green Park Estate. There are surveillance cameras everywhere in the estate, and the estate security officers can testify that I was defending myself. If you have to pursue this matter, we'll call the police. If I get detained, I promise Drew won't be able to escape either." Old Mrs. Camden, Herman, and the others were all flustered. They knew the law. Jordan fought with his bare hands while Drew had a knife with him. Drew would face a heavier sentence. Old Mrs. Camden pointed her finger at Jordan and said scornfully, "Great, you've been sponging off us, and now you're very capable, huh? You've just hit my grandson. Do you want to hit me now?" Jordan said respectfully, "Grand. Old Mrs. Camden, I've always been respectful towards you for the past 3 years, and I've been serving you wholeheartedly too. I promise you, as long as Drew does not provoke me in the future, I won't do anything to him. I only have one request. I hope you will agree to Haley getting a divorce with me." Jordan had taken care of old Mrs. Camden for the past 3 years, more than Drew had ever done in his entire life. However, Jordan was a living grandson-in-law of hers, after all. Regardless of how much effort he put in, he would never compare to Drew. Old Mrs. Camden looked at the crowd and said, "Everyone, as you all know, 3 years ago, the Camdens accepted a live-in son-in-law because of a marriage agreement that my late husband set. Many of you here were the close friends and business partners of my late husband for decades. In the past 3 years, Haley has been unhappy, but for the sake of fulfilling my late husband's wishes, Haley's parents have mentioned a divorce to me several times, but I've turned down all their requests. Everyone in town loves my granddaughter Haley, and most of you refer to her as the most beautiful woman in Orlando, so there is no need for me to tell you which is the more unworthy person. Today, Jordan beat up my grandson and maligned my granddaughter and Tyler. So, I've decided not to abide by my late husband's wishes. I declare that Jordan will no longer be a live-in son-in-law of the Camdens, and he will be kicked out of the Camden family with immediate effect." Old Mrs. Camden's voice was loud and authoritative. Hearing old Mrs. Camden's words, the crowd all raised their wine glasses. "Congratulations, old Mrs. Camden. Congratulations, Haley. Congratulations, we've gotten rid of a good-for-nothing. We can now finally find a better man who's compatible with Haley." Sylvie also raised her glass happily and clinked glasses with the guests, unable to contain the joy that was showing on her face. "Thank you, everyone. I now reveal a piece of information to you. Haley and Jordan have always slept in separate rooms for the past 3 years, and he has never even touched Haley's hand before. Haley is still a virgin." After hearing Sylvie's words, many of the bachelors present ogled at Haley with great interest. Haley also began chiding Sylvie coquettishly. "Mom, why are you talking about this in front of so many people? It's making me shy." Haley's words delighted the guests. The Camdens had finally agreed to let Haley and Jordan get a divorce. However, at this moment, they were all rejoicing and celebrating. That made Jordan disgruntled. "Are you guys so happy to get rid of me? Haley, if you find out my true identity, I wonder if you'd still be able to laugh."